Welcome back for another deep dive.
Always fun to get into these first lines.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes they jump out at you, and sometimes they're a little less obvious, shall we say.
Hmm.
And the one we're looking at today is one of those that, at least on the surface, maybe doesn't have those fireworks going off.
Right.
But I think that's what makes it so interesting, right?
Absolutely.
So we're talking about the opening of Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms, which, as always, I'll just go ahead and read that first line for everyone.
Please.
All right, so it is. In the late summer of that year, we lived in a house in a village that looked across the river and the plain to the mountains.
So simple.
Deceptively simple,
Yes.
I think is the way to put it.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time we've talked about Hemingway.
Yeah, his style is definitely
Unique.
Unique.
Distinctive.
It's all about what's not said, almost as much as what is said.
Yeah, he's famous for that.
Right, yeah,
His iceberg theory,
exactly.
where you only see the tip of the iceberg.
And you got to, use your imagination to figure out what's lurking below.
Yeah, exactly.
And in this case, I think that's where a lot of the brilliance comes in, right?
Oh, for sure.
Because if you just take it at face value,
Yeah,
it's almost like a peaceful little, I don't know.
like a postcard or something.
Yeah.
A very serene landscape.
But Hemingway, we know, well, anyone familiar with the book knows, this is not a story about sitting around admiring the scenery.
Right, and the title itself should give that away.
Farewell to Arms.
Yeah, so right from the start there's going to be some sort of, conflict.
Yeah.
Some turning away from violence or struggle.
So how do you see this playing out in the opening line? How do you see that sort of tension starting to be established?
One of the things that always strikes me is that very first phrase. In the late summer of that year, it's in the past tense, right?
Right.
So he's already framing this as a memory. We lived, not we live.
So it's not just a description of a place. It's someone looking back.
Right.
And that immediately adds a layer of, I don't know, almost sadness.
Yeah, there's a sense of loss. Like this is something the narrator is remembering, maybe something he's lost.
Yeah.
And I think that sets the stage for the whole novel, this idea of looking back on a time before the war, before everything changed.
Before he had to say farewell to arms, as it were.
Exactly.
So we've got this sense of peace, this sense of tranquility on the surface, but also this underlying current of melancholy.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned the iceberg theory. How do you see that playing out here? What are some of the things that maybe are lurking beneath the surface?
Well, I think the way he describes the landscape is key. Across the river and the plain to the mountains. It's almost like there are all these barriers, all these distances between the narrator and the mountains.
Yeah, like he's separated from them somehow.
Right. And maybe those mountains represent something he's striving for, some ideal, but he's not there yet. Or maybe he's been there and lost it. We don't know yet, but there's a sense of longing there, I think.
Yeah, and then there's this we.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know who that is.
Right.
It could be a lover. It could be comrades in arms.
Exactly.
So there's this mystery there as well.
And Hemingway leaves it up to the reader to fill in the gaps.
Right. So it's a simple sentence on the surface, but it's packed with, potential.
Yeah, with possibility. With questions that the novel is going to explore.
And with this kind of quiet power that I think really draws you in.
It's a slow burn.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a hook.
It's a different kind of hook.
Absolutely.
It's not the kind that grabbed you by the throat, but it's the kind that kind of seeps into your consciousness.
It lingers.
It lingers.
It makes you want to keep reading.
It makes you want to keep reading. And I think by the end of the novel, you look back at that first line.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes on a whole new meaning.
Absolutely.
So I think that's something to keep in mind as you dive into A Farewell to Arms yourself.
Yeah, pay attention to that opening line. It's more than just a pretty picture.
It's the start of a journey.
And a powerful one.
Definitely a powerful one.